All right, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Book Eaters. Today we're going to be talking about fan fiction and slash fiction, which is a new popular thing. Watch that, really super new. It's been around for since 1998, I think. But with us, we have a guest, Leah. Leah is here. She's joining us. She's a friend of mine from Lady Geeks. What Eldries? Who also writes fan fiction and is very familiar with the genre. Say hello, Leah.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm very excited because I am not friends with Leah. I am just now meeting her. I also have no knowledge of fan fiction, and I think I'm about to be educated because I assume that when you talk about slash fiction, it was like horror.
Oh,
but it's probably not. But
No.
that's what came to my mind. And so I'm fascinated that Michelle has a friend that knows a lot about something that is completely foreign to me. You're automatically fascinating, Leah. Congratulations.
Ooh. With my slasher fiction voice, not slasher.
Right? Like, how many knives do you own?
Many, actually. I like to cook. I've got like 2 butcher blocks full of knives, but we'll get there later.
That's a lot. That's a lot of butcher blocks. I'm gonna be honest. That's quite a few. So the drink today, in honor of fan fiction, is I went back and forth on this, but eventually I decided that the best thing to do was to pair, because rum is the drink of the season, so it has to be rum. So we decided to slash our rum, whatever our favorite cocktail drink is. So I've chosen to go with rum and Coke because it's the standard, and a lot of fan fiction is written about the standard pairings that already exist in the world. And then I might move on to something more kinky later. What about you, April?
Well, I just now made context clues, so I get what the slash means now.
She doesn't read my emails.
I
Yeah.
I am doing exactly the same thing that Michelle is doing, except that I am doing Diet Pepsi because I am trying to do low carb. And I would venture to say that there are many times that a writer of fan fiction has to make some compromises because the original content is a little extreme, and they have to adjust so that it fits into their own headcanon. And so the name of my drink is Headcanon. And yes, I did read a Wikipedia article before this.
I'm not 100% sure if that's true about the sub, tailing it down, but
it was your idea to pregame.
It is my idea to pregame. So Leah, I understand that you have a specialty drink that you're drinking this evening.
Specialty? Sure. So I have Bitter Sisters, which is an Austin-based brewery, and they have a red ale, which is one of their higher alcohol ales. I figured it's not necessarily on par with rum, but we'll get there. But it has a lot of flavor. It's an Irish style red. It is dark and mysterious. It has sweetness and a feisty punch. So that's my fanfic. How's that?
That checks out. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to talk, what is fan fiction? So the definition of fan fiction is written by a fan of and featuring characters from a particular TV series, movie, etc. So basically, fan fiction is any fiction that includes pre-existing characters from a television show, a book, a movie, a comic. I don't know where else characters come from. Where else do characters come from?
Kind of anywhere. It's actually kind of fascinating. I clicked a couple of strange links on Archive of Our Own one day, which is where I like to read and I post. There is fan fiction about bands, like people write BTS fan fiction. Right. I had thought fan fiction was pretty much like the fictional realm of just fictional characters, but there are people who take real life characters and they write stories about them in whatever world they create. And they run with it. So that was an interesting lesson learned.
So slash fiction, on the other hand, is a genre of fiction in fanzines or online, which characters who appear to be together in movies or on television or other popular media are portrayed as having a sexual, especially gay for some reason, relationship. That's what slash fiction is.
Oh. So yeah, I could see that. Like, I remember watching Growing Pains and thinking, I would love to see Mike
Mm-hmm.
with Samantha from Who's the Boss,
Yeah.
you know, because he needed a little tough love.
You know, I bet you if we went on AO3 right now and we Googled Samantha from Who's the Boss and Mike from, what was the first show?
Growing Pains.
Growing Pains.
Jesus Christ, Michelle.
It's been fucking 30 years. Give me a break. I bet
Now
you.
that's a whole different show.
I bet you that it exists, because I was just messing around this morning and I was like, Rob, give me a thing. And then I would look and there was all kinds of stuff for everything that I like. Crash Bandicoot. There's literally slash fiction about Crash
Is that a
Bandicoot.
video?
It is. It is a video game cat character, I think.
Well, you know what? We should ask Leah because she actually writes, right?
No, she doesn't write Crash Bandicoot slash fiction.
No, that is not no. Sorry. I think I've got the game, or my brother's got the game, but I have not written video game fiction. Sorry.
Wow. Okay.
That is another genre though that exists. Video games, YouTube stars.
I mean, anything
Pop
you
stars.
can really do it. There's a term that describes sort of what you, April, were saying about like the random characters that you wouldn't think about, but they're called rare pairs. So, you know, you take the main two stars of a show, like anyone would think about. So if you take, like I used to watch Stargate Atlantis when it was on, and the two characters that headline the show, it's Major Shepard and Dr. McKay.
Right.
And so if you look for fanfic on Stargate Atlantis, 99% of it is Shepard McKay, slash McKay. And it's literally called slash because when you write the names, you write the first name with the slash and the next name. So that's the slash fic.
Oh.
But the rare pairs are the ones where you're like, I like a minor character that no one cares about, and I'm gonna slash him with another character that maybe someone cares about or doesn't, but you just don't see them together.
No, but I love what she's saying, because one of the things that we've talked about on the podcast before is the, you know, sort of supporting characters. I love it when, what was it, Tale as Old as Time, or where we talked about where the secondary characters were rewritten so that they got to be like the star, like the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea because so often
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead is essentially fan fiction.
perhaps the earliest version of it.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, it's essentially fan fiction because basically it's taking existing characters that already exist and
Creating a whole new story.
and creating a whole new story based upon those characters. That is fan fiction.
And I love that idea. I do. So I'm starting to become a fan of fan fiction.
Turning it around.
And earlier I was a little judgy about it. I was just a little bit. I was like, why can't they create their own world? Why do they got to ride the apron strings of some other world? Why can't they just write their own stuff? Yeah, that's how I was, Leah. I'm not proud of it.
You know, I have a friend who does D&D, and he writes all his characters. He creates his own world. He has like the boundaries of it, all of it. And I salute people who can do that, honestly, like start from scratch and build a whole new world. But that was never me. Like anytime I thought of a story, and even like in school when I was writing stories, it was all like established characters. So like, crazily enough, think back to like Diagnosis Murder of like the 1990s with like Dick Van Dyke.
Okay.
Diagnosis Murder fanfic for school, because it was write a creative story. And the teacher had no idea like I was taking these characters. She didn't watch the show. But I would write my own stories about Diagnosis Murder and turn them in for my creative writing projects. So yeah, I salute people who can world build. It is a very difficult thing that has never quite been where my head is at, though.
Well, okay, let me ask you this, Leah. This is just like a mini personality test. I just want to see if I'm putting the psychological dots together. Okay.
Okay.
It may seem random. I'm just going to ask you two questions. Number one, how do you feel about working in a cubicle?
Do you mean like, is there a literal versus like a figurative answer, or literally?
No, like say you got a great job, great benefits, you love it. It sounds really intriguing, but you're in a cubicle. Are you just automatically like, no, can't do it. I need my own creative space. Or you're like, no, I'm fine with that. I can put my own pictures up. You know, I can put my little, what do they call the bobblehead dolls?
So I've done cubicles and open office space.
Yeah.
I can do either. I don't mind. And I don't know if it means anything, but I don't tend to decorate my office space. I literally just have a desk and my stuff and maybe like my coffee mug and things like that.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. That's theory number one debunked.
Oh gosh.
How do you feel about school uniform?
School uniforms?
Yeah.
What are you?
You can edit all of this out
This
later.
is crazy line of questioning, April.
Listen,
It has
she's
nothing to
getting
do with
somewhere
fan
with
fiction
this,
at
I
all.
just don't know. So I never had to wear a school uniform, so I can't speak from experience. I can see the good and the bad on both sides. Again, I was like the tomboy growing up, so I had like the baggy jeans and like the oversized t-shirts, usually with like a superhero logo on them.
Mhm.
You know, take that for what you will back in the 80s and 90s.
I really feel like we would have been friends in the 80s and 90s as well.
We probably would have. I mean, there weren't very many people at my school who were into the same things as I was, which was sad. But I could see how like you take away that opportunity to like ridicule people for things, especially like, you know, wearing things that aren't mainstream or not having the money for fashion, like that type of thing. But at the same time, most uniforms, especially for girls, like I wasn't gonna wear that skirt. It was too short and it was too damn ugly. And those socks were awful, like up to your calves. Like, no.
Okay.
What does that tell you about Leah?
Well, it doesn't tell me anything. I mean, it
Yeah.
tells me some things, but not what I thought it would tell me. So that clearly shows that I do not have a degree in psychology. What I was trying to go for was I've always thought that there's a certain sort of expression of creativity that comes with being restricted to certain rules. So like if you do have a cubicle, right, and everyone has exactly the same cubicle, everybody gets the same, like you were saying, sometimes you don't have enough money for fashion. I certainly didn't growing up. Everybody gets the same source materials, and same thing with a school uniform. Everybody gets the same base. But if you get to like inject a little of your personality into it, then that's where real expression comes in.
I think maybe
versus having a whole closet full of a ton of clothes that you could wear to school. Nope, you have to wear this limited things, then it forces you to be a little bit more creative. And so maybe with fan fiction, you don't get to create your entire world the way that you want it. You do have a sort of narrowed plane to create with them.
I think the thing about fan fiction is that there is no narrowing of the plane. It's expanding the plane. It's taking a thing that exists and making it exactly what you want.
No,
there's no rules.
No, it is narrowing it, because if you're like, hey, here's a blank piece of paper and a typewriter,
right?
There's like a cajillion things that could go on that paper. But if you say, no, I'm going to be writing a story within the world of Star Trek.
But you could still change that world in any way you want.
You can, but you've still automatically narrowed it down just by introducing. All right, we're already getting mad.
All right, let's talk about tags and warnings.
Well, now let's just see what Leah thinks.
Okay, Leah, what do you think?
What do I think? So there is some fan fiction that is out there. So to your point, April, both of you actually, when you decide to write fan fiction, you can take it in a lot of different directions. You can say, the only thing I'm going to do that is out of the ordinary is, in my case, I write Jason Todd with Barry Allen. That is my slash pick, my OTP, my one true pair right now. Those characters would never be together in the comics. Number one, if you read the comics and you go straight from the comics, there is probably over a decade of age difference between the two, plus just other, like their paths would just never cross. It wouldn't happen. And so when I write, I'm like, okay, I know the personality of Barry Allen, and I know the things he would do and not do. I know the personality of Jason Todd. I know what he would do and not do. But in order to bring those characters together, I do have to make some changes. And I can choose to just make those changes a thing, like have them just be there, or I can explain them over chapters as the relationship develops. In that way, like I can modify the world within the bounds of the comic. Then you've got people who will take, there's a lot of this for characters now. It's kind of interesting to watch, but they call it it's like gender bending or gender queer or asexual. They'll change the characters to fit different types of, I'm sure there's a word for it, and I'm going to screw this up and I apologize.
We do it all the
Just
time.
where you are on the gender or sexuality spectrum.
Right.
And so they'll do, usually there's a tag that says like femme whatever. So like femme Barry. So for their Barry Allen, they are taking Barry Allen, who's a male character in the comics, and they are writing that character as a woman. And sometimes that is through science, through magic, or sometimes it's just Barry Allen as a woman.
Okay.
They can also do it with transgendered characters. So people will write like Barry Allen is a man, but he chooses to live as a woman, believes he's a woman, feels as a woman, etc. So you can take the universe and you can bend it and fold it and change it however you want, and people will respond to it or not. There are some things that go so far out that like you start reading, you're like, this would never happen, and I can't even imagine in a world without bounds that it would happen. And most of that I can't really deal with, because I'm like, there's no point in writing a Batman fanfic or a Flash fanfic that isn't even recognizable as one of those characters. But you can do it. It's just, it really just depends. Like, do you want to maintain just the essence of who a character is, or do you want to maintain, for the most part, the canon world that that character is in part of?
That really made me think of the Sherry Thomas books with Lady Sherlock. So
That's 100% also fan fiction.
yeah, I never had thought
Right?
of that. So I have read fan fiction.
Yeah.
So Lee, if you haven't read them yet, there is a series of books written by Sherry Thomas called the Lady Sherlock series, and it's amazing.
It is pretty great.
Recommend that series so many times, and everybody that I recommend it to comes back saying, yes, I love it. And but the idea is that Sherlock Holmes is not a man, it is a woman, and she pretends to be his sister. That I'm not doing this justice at all, but she like takes all the information in because the real Sherlock Holmes is too ill, like in a back bedroom or something, and so he can't receive visitors. And so she's ostensibly taking notes to give to the real Sherlock, when in fact she is the real Sherlock.
Yeah.
And it is super good, not just for, you know, that neat little flip of canon, but also because it's true, like whodunit sort of.
Also, Kate Redding. Kate Redding does the audiobooks, and they're fantastic.
And they're fantastic. I don't think Kate Redding does do them.
Yes, she does.
Okay. But in any case, you know, it's very almost Agatha Christie with its like real mystery and the little clues that are peppered throughout. And did you pick it up before the big reveal? And it's like true mystery, which I don't think there is a lot of now. A lot of it is
good.
Yeah, it's great.
Also kind of cozy mystery.
And very cozy.
It's very cozy. So back to regular fan fiction, I wanted to talk about the tags versus warnings. So when I went to peruse some of the various fan fiction sites, I noticed that there were a bunch of tags, right? And the tags could be anything from like who's in it, like it could say, you know, Batman, Jason Todd, or it could say Dean and Castiel or whatever. But then it also had a bunch of tags that would say things like smut, or the author was very tired when he wrote this, or I'm very sorry, please don't read, or like the tags were extremely random. And then there was also like at the beginning, there were like these things that said there are no warnings, or the author chose not to use warnings, or there are warnings. Like, what are the differences between the tags and the warnings, and what are those for?
So tags are kind of fun. I think you pointed out there are some people who enjoy playing with tags quite a bit. And if you really get into reading fan fiction, sometimes you'll pick stories just based on the tags. Like you'll find something hilarious and you'll just read it. You're like, some person will write a tag, and I can't think of anything off the cuff, but the tag will be so funny or so unique, and you'll be like, I don't even care about that character, but I'm going to read this story for that tag. So the tags can be engaging. They can attract people in. They can tell people what they're in for, you know. So this story contains, I mean, at the low end, like this story contains fluff So fluff is just like happiness and joy and unicorns, and it's
Oh,
just
it's not like a fluffer, like a.
yeah. Well,
I see what you
I don't
did.
know
I mean, I
fluffer is.
wasn't sure. Like I saw the fluff, and I immediately assumed like fluffing, like a fluffer.
Wow.
I don't know what a fluffer is,
A
but
fluffer.
Thank you.
A fluffer in the porn industry is somebody who jacks off the actors so they're nice and hard for the scene.
oh, okay, no.
So the reason why she brings this up, Leah, is because I did not know what a fluffer was. I thought I had heard the term. I thought it was someone who warmed up the crowd. And so I was at work and introducing someone about to give a presentation and called myself her fluffer
Oh.
at work. It was very awkward.
It's pretty embarrassing. I'm sorry.
Okay, so not in fanfic, at least not that I have read.
But,
all right.
okay, let's get this back on track, Leah.
Okay, so
What-
fluff is. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
What do you think is the best tag that you've ever come up with?
Oh man, I have no idea. I would have to go back and like pull up the ones I've written. I can probably quickly go through.
Okay, yeah, do it.
Yeah.
I just really want to get deeper into the mind of Leah.
So
Oh,
why
God,
are you looking? Some of the ones I found were like non-con, so like non-consensual. So I know that there's like rape involved, or there was like non-consensual medical procedure, and I was like, I wonder what happened there. Or
Yeah.
Anal fingering was a big one. I saw a lot
Yep.
of anal
Okay.
sex.
I know if I were a writer,
Mm-hmm.
and more specifically a writer of fan fiction, I think my tag would definitely be the one that's like, there are no warnings. I'm too lazy for that shit. Enter at your own risk.
There were a couple, but I feel like the ones that had no warnings had lower, I guess when someone goes and reads a fan fiction, they can give kudos, right? Is that what it's called? Kudos.
Yeah,
And then they can
do
also give like comments, and those ones had fewer kudos and fewer comments. I think people probably didn't read them.
Well, so just to be clear, when people say there's no warnings, so there's specific things, and I'll see if I can pull up a story and just tell you, but when you're putting warnings for your fanfic, typically you're looking at things that are psychological triggers, things that are going to basically make your audience react and not necessarily in a good way. So if people are triggered by a certain thing, be it an underage relationship or non-con, character death, things like that, that's when you start putting warnings on your fanfic, because there are some people who will not read fic like that. It's not their cup of tea. And
Do they have a spiders warning?
I'm sorry?
Yeah,
Spider.
Michelle has a spider.
Do they have a
phobia.
spiders warning? Like spiders, caution, there's spiders. Is that a thing?
That's what I think is interesting, right? For someone, I mean, you can't write a story without conflict.
Mhm.
You have to have that sort of interplay of this is an obstacle that your protagonist has to overcome.
Mhm.
And that must, in some dimension, alternate reality, is a trigger for someone. So where do you draw the line? Like, look, everything is going to be a trigger for somebody, right?
So I think that's a differentiation. So I pulled up archive.org just so you could, or Archive of Our Own, I'm sorry, just so you could see this or hear it. So the warnings that they give you, there are 6 of them for the standard ones. One is choose not to use archive warnings. 2 is graphic depictions of violence. 3 is major character death. 4 is no warnings apply. 5 is rape non-con, and 6 is underage.
So I didn't see. So a lot of the ones I looked at in AO3, they would say things like no warnings, but then in the tags it would say non-con.
That's kind of interesting, and I don't know why they would do it that way. I think they're there specifically because, like you said, anything can be a trigger, be it spiders or be it, an underage relationship. But I think there are very specific things even in fandom that people don't want to read, such as an underage relationship.
Character death. I mean, come on now.
Character death. I mean, it really depends. And I think when you talk about the difference between the warnings and the tags, tags are freeform. I can write whatever I want in a tag. It can be serious, it can be silly, it can add more. Like I've written, I think in one of, I don't know if it was a tag or if it wasn't it was in a story note, but it was, I am writing this story. I understand that there are this, decade age gap or more if you read the comics between Barry Allen and Jason Todd. When I'm writing this story, this is not an underage relationship. So assume that I have changed canon to make Jason like 27 and Barry's like 35. Like I specifically did not want one of the characters to be underage. Like that's not really my thing.
Right. I don't, people like that though. People read that and write that.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, is there the opposite of a trigger? Is there like an enticement?
I mean, that's what the tags are for, right? So you
That's
can
the
look for it. Like
tags.
if you really want to read a story about anal fingering,
Apparently there's a lot of it.
you can search for that tag and then it gives you a list. Although I had some trouble with the searching. So I went to AO3 and I if I put in like Flash, for example.
Hold on one second.
Mhm.
What is AO3? Y'all mentioned it. I don't know.
Okay, so it's one of the many sites that people use to upload their fan fiction.
Okay, so if you're interested in fan fiction and you're like me and have never experienced it, and you're like, actually, I really love Jane Austen, I would love to read some fan fiction about it. You can just go to AO3.com.
So Archive of Our Own is AO3. That's what we're talking about. It's the one that I spent the most time in because it's the one that Leah uses. There's also Comaful. There's fanfiction.net. Tumblr is a great place if you're curious. Wattpad, something called Quest, and then Kindle Words, and then DeviantArt. Those are the big ones. I think the top two are Archive of Our Own, which is AO3, and fanfiction.net.
And I think fanfiction.net's one of the oldest ones.
Yeah,
I remember reading FF.net stuff.
Yeah, they came out the same year. Although a lot of people use Archive of Their Own over fanfiction.net because of the ability to blend more seamlessly in. Apparently, if you write in fanfiction.net, you're more likely to get sued than if you write in AO3. So that's one of the things that I saw, and that's why a lot of people tend to go there because they protect their writers a lot more than fanfiction.net.
Okay.
So
you sound so knowledgeable.
I mean,
to April's question, so there's there can be, I mean, there's a number of fan fiction sites, and some of them are geared specifically toward a genre. So there is a fan fiction site just for Stargate fan fiction, and of course the name is escaping me right now. Oh, it's GateNet, Gate World, no, Gate something. I'll think of it. But there's like a Stargate fan fiction site. There's one that was just for Star Wars fan fiction, where I used to read a lot of Rogue Squadron fan fiction. Archive just has everything. Like it doesn't matter what genre or what universe you're writing in, you can post it to Archive, and there's fans for everything there.
And they are also run by fans, so it's not it's like a nonprofit. It's like run by fans, which is nice.
Leah, how did you get into it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh dear. No, I was trying to think about this and go back. So like I said, I think just about everything I've written, even through school, has been fanfic related. And to your point about the Sherlock and taking a derivative of Sherlock and making that, and that's fanfic, it's true. Like anything that a fan, not the original author, writes is kind of fan fiction in a way. So in school, we had to read books like Brave New World or whatever, and our teacher would be like, rewrite the last chapter or write a missing scene, or change something in there to change a theme or something like that. And I always enjoyed doing those. I would change, like if it ended, it's like how it should have ended, but like okay for middle school. I could change that around, and I could change the plot, and I could say like, it would have ended so much better if it had done this. One of my college essay papers was on Huckleberry Finn. It was a very long essay, and I don't remember the whole thing, but it was written as one of the characters writing a note when he goes off to war. So I did a lot of writing and rewriting of established books kind of as assignments. And then when I was given an assignment to do creative writing, Like I remember writing a Star Wars fan fiction. I remember writing Diagnosis Murder. What else did I write? I wasn't doing comic fanfic back then, but the spark actually was COVID, the re-spark of it, like trying to write. You laugh, but I had written some things on and off. They sat in a folder on my computer, and Michele kind of knows this, but most of my stories start with like a thought, and I have to tease it out in my brain before I can actually write it. Like I can't just stare at a piece of paper and write. And so usually before I go to bed, I get all these stories and plot lines in my head. And during COVID, as a way to stay sane, I finally started putting them on paper. And I was like, you know what, to hell with it. So I'm going to put it on the internet and see what happens.
No,
And
I only laugh because your method of getting through COVID was a lot healthier than mine, which was.
I drink too. It's fine.
All right, I feel much better now.
All right,
back on track as you do.
okay.
As you do.
All right. So we were just talking about the tags. Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you about the search. Like, how do you search for things? Like, if I go to AO3, in the corner there's a search button, and I would type in Flash, and then it would give me things with the name Flash and not with the character Flash.
So
Like,
there's an
how am I
advanced.
searching wrong?
I don't think you're doing it wrong. I
Do I need to
personally
do like
don't-
a pound sign Flash? Like, how do I search for tags?
You can search Flash, and then the best way to do it is to then edit your search. I don't know if there's a way to just do like colon tag or something like that, but if you search it, you get all the crap, and then you go to edit your search. It gives you like any field as an option: the title, author, artist, dates, the status of the work, language, word count, fandom. Probably what you're looking for is fandom.
Yeah.
Can I just insert to say what I feel like right now?
What?
I feel like Scooby-Doo, where I'm like, oh.
Whoa, Shaggy.
So is there Scooby-Doo fan fiction?
Of course there is.
There's
For
gotta be,
sure.
right?
Are you Googling it? I mean, there's got to be. Like, I
You
would.
should.
There's Crash Bandicoot fan fiction. There has to be Scooby-Doo.
I hope there's some like
And the choice is:
Shaggy.
do you want the Scooby-Doo
Velma.
original fanfic from the cartoon, like back in the day, or do you want like Scooby Apocalypse
Shaggy
comic?
and
Or do you want
Velma?
Scooby and
Oh my-
Batman?
I'm sorry.
Wait, Shaggy and Velma? Not
Yeah.
just Shaggy and Fred. I think that's what it is. Because it's always male to male. It's always male to male.
Yeah, but did
No,
you
not
go to-
necessarily. So you're conflating two different things.
But and also, and I want to get back to what she's conflating because I love it when Michelle's called out.
What did
But
she say? What did she say? What did she say?
all of the stuff that Leah was just talking about, I feel like there is a lot we need to explore with like Shaggy fandom.
Oh God.
Okay, she was like past, and it was. I mean, is there more than one world of
There was a
Scooby-Doo?
supernatural Scooby-Doo episode. I bet you that there is some sort of weird Fred and Sam.
I mean, I just know Zoiks.
Zoinks!
You can look for it. I will tell you that in Scooby Apocalypse, in the Scooby Apocalypse comic, Shaggy and Velma are together.
Oh shit!
What? Oh shit!
So it's fucking canon.
Wow.
Oh no! Oh no!
It's, Shaggy and Velma, and they have a kid.
Hmm. I
Sorry,
didn't think
mind
that if you
blown.
smoke that much weed, you could have a kid. That's cool.
Okay, that's not true. Okay, that is Christian propaganda. You can have children.
What are you even talking about?
You know, the devil's weed. If you smoke too much pot, then you can't procreate. That is not true.
Oh my God. All right, so let's talk about the benefits of reading and writing fan fiction.
Oh, sure.
Oh, wait,
yeah.
I just want to point out, because you made a comment that is, it should be clarified.
Oh, you want to talk about the male to male thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let-
okay.
let her-
No.
Yeah,
all right.
so originally, and if you read Wikipedia and other sites, slash fic was MM, it was male. One of my friends told me that some of the earliest fanfic slash fic was actually Kirk Spock. So
It's
Star
true.
Trek original series.
That's true. I did some research. It's actually true.
But if you go to Archive of Our Own, you will see that people will slash any character now. So you could have a male, female, you could have 2 males and a female, 4 females and a male, like whatever, like you can slash whatever you want now.
You could make a cocktail with like 2 liquors and a mixer then.
I don't know.
Sorry,
I
April.
just can't get.
Yeah, everyone.
You can slash anyone you want to. I'm like, no, I
Um,
can't. That is not good behavior.
I mean, sex is sex. I don't want to yuck him as young.
I will be executed.
But you can distinguish. You can distinguish if you want slash fic, male slash fic, and you can do like female, fem slash is what they call it sometimes. I personally just say anything with two characters in a relationship is slash fic. That is me, myself, and I, the author's opinion. But traditionally, yes, slash fic was male, and now anything with a slash, I think, is considered slash fic.
Do you write anything that's a male to female or female to female?
Have I written male female? I don't think I have. I'm going to be totally honest. I'm not a huge fan of the vast majority of female comic book characters.
That's the problem, right? Like,
I just don't find them interesting, and I don't know if that's a way they're written or just
It's the
I
way
like
they're
the male
written.
characters
they're
better.
legitimately not written to have the same amount of weight and value as the male comic book characters. They're just not.
Yeah.
They're all like damaged in a way that makes them powerless instead of powerful.
I think the one example, so I'll take two for that. So you could take a character because you like the Flash TV show, and you could say they take Iris Allen, who honestly or Iris West, whatever. But so Iris Allen, Iris West, however you want to call her in the comics, is actually a very strong character. And she stands on her own. She doesn't get a lot of book time, but she's actually a very strong character. And they, I think, tried to make Iris West in the TV series the same thing, like a strong character, except she's incredibly whiny.
Yeah.
And she's very she talks down to Barry quite a bit, which, so there's a lot of representations of the female characters where, especially in the TV show, I can't stand her. I think Caitlin is a whiny character too.
God, yes.
I'm just saying in general.
You know what the problem with Caitlin is that, and even when she becomes the snow chick, whatever, with the ice.
Killer Frost.
Even when she becomes Killer Frost, she's still just weak and
whiny.
They could, theoretically, in a fan fiction world, is we could make slash fic between Iris and Caitlin, and we could make them fully competent characters who weren't whiny, but support each other and are amazing. And that would be great. Right?
Well, I think that's what some people do. I mean, just to say, if there's a character you really like who doesn't get a lot of airtime or book time, if there's a character you really like who is marginalized, or you don't necessarily like the voice or the direction that character goes, then part of that's why you write fanfic. It's to say, I can take this character and do something better or different or more interesting with that character to make them, or to make that situation something better than the author portrayed it as.
Right.
And you'll see a lot of fanfic that will rewrite scenes in TV shows or movies or comics to say this was bullshit. I don't, I'm serious. This was bullshit. I don't like the way it happened. You'd see it with Supernatural. You'd see it with Stargate Atlantis, to say, I don't like the way this scene went. And if it had been me at the helm writing it, this is what would have happened.
Right.
And that's what a lot of fan fiction comes out of, is people saying, I could do this better, and the author screwed up, or the producer screwed up, or whatever, and this should have been the way it was.
So that's clearly one of the benefits of writing fan fiction, is that you get to rewrite the wrongs, and you get to expand the universe in the way that you want it to be expanded. But what is one of the benefits of reading fan fiction? Is it the kind of the same thing? You get to see a different take of your characters? I feel like sometimes when a show ends, for example, Supernatural is a good example, right? The show is over. I'm not getting any new content, but I still really care about those characters. I want to learn more. I could read some fan fiction and get some more stories. What kinds of, I mean, you read fan fiction too, right? You don't just write it?
Yeah, no, I started out reading it.
So what is the primary reason why you read fan fiction?
There's a lot of reasons. I read books, honest to God, written novels, I promise. And
no, I believe you. I mean, for sure. But as we talked about earlier in this podcast already, there are a number of books that are essentially fan fiction, right?
Well, I mean, theoretically, you could say that anything that was based on the Star Wars movies, the series that came out, be it Rogue Squadron or the Thrawn series or the Empire,
Right? The Thrawn series is
Star
amazing.
Trek novels. It's just the difference is that's licensed. Is someone said, you who are a real writer, author, whatever you want to call that person, I duly elect you to write this novel and I will pay you for it and you can publish it and no one's going to sue you for copyright infringement.
But it's not just that. Like I'm thinking of like Grady Hendrix wrote The Final Girl Support Group, which is a book essentially about the final girls, which are the people who survive horror movies. Speaking of slashers, slash fic, right? So this whole book by Grady Hendrix is about these women who are the last girl that survived these horror films. And in the book, it's clearly fan fiction because you can see, oh, that's the chick from Nightmare on Elm Street. That's the chick from Halloween. That's the chick from Friday the 13th. You can clearly see who they are. And you can see that he pulled them out of the story and he made a story about those girls and about their lives after those things happened, right? That is fan fiction, in my opinion, right? But it's published by Grady Hendrix, who has written many horror stories and who is a very well-known published author. But it's definitely fan fiction.
Well, it is, and I think the difference is that there are things that you can write. For example, a relationship between Barry Allen and Jason Todd, or I have one Barry Allen and John Constantine that I put up.
I love John Constantine. Oh,
that was full of angst. I would say that there are things that you can write in fan fiction that are probably never ever within the realm of possibility to be mainstream fiction. And so, you can write a thing, like you could write a normal story and it can be fan fiction and it can be like an episode of a TV show that changes absolutely nothing within the canon. There's no like crazy relationship stuff. It literally is just, I wrote an episode of a TV show and I'm going to put it on the internet. And because I'm not associated with the show and I don't have the connections, it's never going to be part of a TV show, but I'm going to put it out there.
Right.
But a lot of fan fiction is stuff that you're never, like, I don't think could ever be part of canon. It's like, even if you take some of the relationships on the outside, like I said, Barry Allen, John Constantine, or, I mean, I have one that's, I took the Winchesters. I didn't post this one, but it's Dean Winchester. You read it, I think. In the Star Wars.
This is the Star Wars one?
Yeah, so it's Dean Winchester and Sam Winchester with Bobby in the Rogue Squadron universe with Rogue Squadron.
I love
and
Bobby.
It was just a crazy story that came to mind and I wrote it, but there's no way that's ever going to get published. It's just not, there's no venue for that. There's no one who's going to be like, I'm in the market for a Star Wars / Winchester crossover story.
But I feel like that market does exist in fan fiction, right?
It does, and that's to your point. Like that's why people write fan fiction, is because there's a whole bunch of stories that people want to tell with these characters, but mainstream media is not a place where they're ever going to live. Like you're just never going to get something like that actually published unless it's in a fanzine, where original fan fiction used to be before the internet,
right.
So I think that's why people write it is they have a lot more stories to tell. The venues for publishing those stories in whatever form, on the internet, in book form, on TV, as a movie, whatever, they're just not there. But all these people are very creative and they have a story to tell and they love the characters and it gets them to write, and this is the medium that they choose.
So some of those stories though do get picked up, like 50 Shades of Grey, for example, right? That's the Twilight fanfic. In fact, a shit ton of Twilight fanfic has been picked up and made into novels, because it's not just 50 Shades of Grey. It's also Beautiful Bastards, Gabrielle's Inferno, Wallbanger, Sempra, The Rhythm of Chord and something, I don't know. Like there's a shit ton of Twilight fan fiction that was written that got picked up and made into actual books by traditional publishers. Not just like I'm publishing this on Amazon myself, but traditional publishers picked up these books. And I mean, sure, 50 Shades of Grey was the most popular, but these were all #1 bestsellers.
Can I be snarky?
Yeah.
I remember that 50 Shades of Grey had to change the characters and distance itself from the actual movie.
So I heard, like, one of the things I heard was that they have to file off the serial numbers, which means they take they go into the stories and they change all of the names and they change all of the stuff so that it doesn't resemble that, but it is still Twilight fan fiction that was then made into a publisher, like made into a book that people will publish and people read. But here's another thing though. Did you ever read City of Bones, The Mortal Instruments? They made a fucking movie out of this. That was fucking Cassandra Clare. That's Harry Potter fanfic.
They took The Martian, which was I believe it was not associated with any genre, but they turned that into a movie with
Andy Weir.
Okay,
Andy,
but that
let's
was a
talk
great
about
book.
let's
That was a
talk about Andy Weir for a second. Andy Weir writes a lot of fan fiction. He writes Professor Moriarty fan fiction. He writes Doctor Who fan fiction.
Okay.
He writes he wrote Lancero, which is a Ready Player One fan fiction, which has an audiobook that was narrated by R.C. Bray. Fucking R.C. Bray is like, I mean, I'm not a huge fan, but he is like a genius in the audio, like sci-fi audiobook community. He narrated a fan fiction.
I want to do what you told me, but I'm also very fascinated by the fact that Andy Weir, who also writes great fiction without any sort of outside influences, also writes.
Project Hail Mary, The Martian, Artemis. Oh my fuck! I want to read from some fan fiction of Andy Weir's. So Andy Weir,
but I love Andy Weir.
He's fucking amazing. He also writes fan fiction, and he wrote this piece, which
Andy
I thought
Weir, be on our podcast.
I thought this was amazing.
Okay.
He posted this on his Facebook page, so I'm going to read it. It's fine. So basically, it's fan fiction of The Devil Went Down to Georgia. That song, The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Yeah, I'm from the South.
He posits.
He was looking for a soul to steal.
He posits that the Devil's piece was better than Daniel's.
100% was.
So,
if anybody listens to that song, you know the Devil's.
This is his piece. So he wrote a piece add-on to that.
Whoa. You're telling me that the man who wrote, and then is he from the South?
I don't know. He wrote this fan fiction. He just said fan lyrics.
Who else knows about Devil Went Down to Georgia unless you're from the South?
Everybody fucking knows the song.
Really?
Anyway, so here's the fan fiction I'm going to read to you right now.
It doesn't make any sense.
Here you go.
Okay.
Well, the devil headed back to hell and he grinned an evil grin because he knew right from the onset that fiddle boy would win. The devil's song was better. It was clear as the night and day. But he gave that golden fiddle to old Johnny, anyway. Because he didn't give that Georgia boy a fiddle made of gold. He fed young Johnny's sin of pride, which he'll carry till he's old. And one fine day when Johnny dies, he'll pay for all his sins. And only then will Johnny see the devil always wins. See, the devil plays a long game, and he plays a long game well. He knows just what to do to make a fella land in hell. He'll make you think you beat him, then he'll watch you fall to sin. But he had to admit that little shit was the best that's ever been. Right?
I read that this afternoon on your Facebook.
On my Facebook, I posted it because I was like, "That's fucking amazing." Andy Weir wrote that shit.
Oh, and I guess this is what fan fiction is about, right? Putting like these two really abstract ideas, but somehow they are in the same world. How does Andy Weir know about Charlie Daniels?
Everybody knows Charlie Daniels.
Sure. Okay, I don't.
I mean, like I'm from Arizona, which is the Southwest, and I know fucking Charlie Daniels.
You knew it before you came to Georgia.
I knew before I came to fucking Georgia. Hell, fucking yeah.
Leah, are you from Georgia?
I am not.
I don't understand how y'all know this songs because y'all were not here for Country Gold Saturday Night.
It's not like it wasn't a fucking popular song,
It was on the radio. It was on the radio a lot.
Do you also know about Big Bad John?
Big Bad John.
You do? Oh, I can't even handle what is coming into my brain right now. I thought that only was in my southern rural Georgia world, and you know about Big Bad John?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, okay, are you gonna be all right?
I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna think about it. I mean, I'll be okay for sure. But I always thought all of these references were limited, but no, people know about them.
Yeah. Will do.
I mean, because my experience is that people think Southerners are like, Flo from Mel's Diner.
Actually, Mel's Diner was filmed in Arizona.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
it was
the outsiders.
It was filmed. It was filmed
in Grit.
It was filmed in Tucson, Arizona, which is where I went to college. And
I went from Phoenix, Arizona.
To
Tucson, Arizona.
Is this a Beatles song reference? Are you trying to do right now?
I think it's Creedence Clearwater Revival.
CCR?
I went from Phoenix, Arizona, all the way to Tacoma, Philadelphia, Atlanta, LA.
Steelers Wheel, isn't it? Northern
Wow.
California, where the girls are warm, so
That
I can
is-
keep on rocking me, baby.
Yeah,
keep
that
on
is
rocking me, baby.
Steve
is the song.
Miller Band, baby.
Steve Miller's
I
band.
mean,
yeah, sorry.
oh, right.
Steve Miller band.
The important thing is that we all knew it,
So
and that's important for me to realize.
yeah, I mean,
That was on the
you're
oldies
not
station when I was
you're not in
growing
a
up.
silo. Music is everywhere.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just me.
Also, fan fiction is everywhere. Just to circle back. So in addition to the Final Goal support group, I recently read listened to a story called The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune, who you know is my favorite. And it was narrated by Michael Leslie, April.
I do know that Michael Leslie's your favorite. But TJ Klune is your favorite. I thought your favorite
My favorite
was
is
Lee Bardugo.
Lee Bardugo is my favorite. But my favorite male author is TJ Klune, for sure.
Okay.
And The Extraordinaries, there's a character who in the story is a fan fiction writer, and he writes stories about superheroes that exist in the world. And I was like, so fan fiction is so prevalent now that it's actually part of characters' backstories now in stories.
I feel like that's true for all media.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like the fringe that is suddenly being brought into the forefront. Like if you look at The Matrix, the hackers, or if you look at what was the movie with?
You think that hackers are on the fringe?
Well, at the time that movie was made, yeah.
The Matrix?
I don't know, but the
movie The Hackers?
Maybe. You know what I'm saying? Hollywood is always like trying. What is the Flatliners movie?
Flatliners?
Yeah.
With
like Hollywood is always trying to
bring people back from the dead.
They're trying to pretend
bringing something scary back with them, with like a red hood that kills you.
Christ, you're deliberately misinterpreting.
Goddamn, Billy.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't.
I have no idea what you're saying.
Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that is par for the course. That mainstream is always trying to adopt the fringe so that they can prove that they're cool.
What I'm saying is that fan fiction is not fringe, it is mainstream though.
Yeah, and so now it's not cool.
I mean, it's so fucking cool, but I'm saying that it's mainstream. I'm saying that it's infiltrated our society now.
It would not be that way if like some sort of, marketer didn't like get their little greedy hands in it and pull it into the
Are you talking shit about TJ Klune right now?
No, I don't know. I don't know him, but I'm just saying that for me, like if I like a band and I'm like, ooh, I love this music, it's so great, and then all of a sudden it's on the radio, I'm just like, oh.
That's really a personal problem, April. The rest of us are happy when things we love are shared by others.
No, I like it to be secret and just only I know about it.
Leah, how about you? Do you like it when things you like are shared by others, or do you prefer it to just be shared by you?
Oh man, that's a hard question.
I feel like Leah's on Team April. We like it for it just to be an intimate sort of like secret, wink, wink. So we never wanted on Dick Clark's New Year's Eve countdown.
Dick Clark is dead, honey.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I would take it two different ways. It depends. There are people who are very much like fan fiction, and I'll give this toward fan fiction so we can maybe stay on topic. Sorry.
Excellent.
Damn you, Leah.
Excellent bringing it back. Excellent job.
There are fans who have gone to conventions, like San Diego Comic-Con or whatever else, where actors have been present. And I will use Supernatural as an example because I have seen the videos on YouTube and I can speak to it. Fan fiction community for Supernatural. Well, okay, so Supernatural is different because the main characters are brothers. And typically when you look at slashing or writing fan fiction for characters, they're not related.
Right, so you think that's why Destiel is such a huge thing?
Well, I think Destiel is a huge thing because people love Castiel and they love Dean. And, they create that, but there are fan fiction writers who will slash Sam and Dean.
That's gross.
And Well, I mean, look at how fan fiction is and say, okay, you've got three main characters. They are all male, and two of them are related. So either it's Sam and Cass or Dean and Cass, and Dean and Cass
Cass.
are
Why is it always
biological.
Steve and Cass? Like, why not Sam and Cass?
Because Dusty sounds better than Sam.
I mean, I'm just
Sam
saying, like, Sam is like the sweet one.
Yeah,
You know?
but Cass went down and pulled Dean out, raised him back
You
to
did raise
Earth.
him
and-
from hell, yeah. I raised you
did.
from perdition. That's
But
true. There's
so-
that whole bit.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
But so
true.
to make it weird, there's at least a fan, and I think there's been more than one,
At least
who went to
eight
one of the cons and stood up in front of the panel, and I don't remember if it was like Sam, Dean, and Cass, or just Sam and Dean, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and asked the question, "What do you think of the slash fic between Dean and Castiel?" And I don't know, obviously, Jensen Ackles personally. I've never talked to him, but the question made, I think, the entire panel, whoever was up there, kind of uncomfortable. And so
Yeah.
when you talk about adopting fan fiction and the premise of a lot of fan fiction into mainstream TV shows, I don't think that's necessarily going to happen in all cases. And it's not, I'm not talking smack about Jensen Ackles. I don't know him.
I mean, I
But-
feel like Jensen Ackles was right on the money there, because he was like, that's not the characters.
It's not the show.
It's
yeah,
not
I
the
mean-
characters. Like, Dean was never ever going to fall in love with Castiel. Like, that was
Right.
not who Dean was. Like, he wasn't bisexual. He was heterosexual.
Yeah, well, I mean, in fan fiction, that is the space for that type of relationship to happen. Like, that's why fan fiction, I think, exists, because you can take the characters and you can do whatever you want to them. But the reaction, especially if you watch the videos and you look at the comments on the YouTube videos to this person standing up and asking that question, was essentially to say, fan fiction does not exist in canon.
Mm-mm.
Don't ask the actors about these things, especially since I think it had happened before and people knew it was kind of an uncomfortable topic. But, like, they're two separate worlds. So if you want to write fanfic and you want to read fanfic and you think Destiel is a thing, more power to you, go for it, yay. But when you cross into the real world, such as it is of like television fantasy, like, leave it behind.
Right.
Don't get up there and ask a character, hey, what do you think about this story where your character sleeps with pick a random character. I don't know, the devil or a demon or hellhound or whatever.
Honestly, if I'm being honest, Mark Shepard's character, that would be fucking amazing fucking fan fiction with Dean and Mark Shepard's character. Like, for sure, that'd be fun, right? Wouldn't that be fun?
It's there. It is.
I'm
it's
sure
there.
that it exists.
But I think, to your question, like, you're not going to see a lot of the fan fiction, especially, I think, the slash, and I refer to male-male relationships here, cross over into mainstream, just because society isn't there yet. We're getting there. I mean,
Right.
you see it in a lot of television shows now, and there
Sure.
are more gay characters and trans and other people on that, gender spectrum or sexuality spectrum. And I hope I'm using those terms correctly. Please don't kill me. But a lot of that isn't going to be there, and people are going to kind of say, okay, your little fan fiction world is wonderful, but remember, you live in the real world, and please don't bring that up in the real world. We don't want to hear about it.
I mean, but I think that the thing with the Destiel is that it was so crazy. Like, you see it everywhere. Like, it was bleeding out of fan fiction into not just Tumblr, but like Pinterest and Facebook and Instagram. And I can see why, because Misha Collins is crazy fun, and Jensen Ackles is also crazy fun. Although at the conventions, Jared Padalecki is the show.
Oh, he's done some crazy ass things.
I mean,
on the
he's
show.
the fucking show. He, like, on the show, he seems like quiet and reserved, but in real life, he's the flamboyant one, and Jensen Ackles is the quiet one. But they're so gorgeous, both of them. They have no pores.
But remember that
I don't know how it is.
I think Jared Padalecki got married first, and he got married to
The chick
one of
from
the
the
ladies.
show. Right.
Yeah, one of the who played the demon Ruby.
And I don't
And
understand
his
why
role-
she never comes to conventions. And then my sister told me that people are just
Yeah,
mean to
shit.
her. People were mean to
Oh, yeah,
her.
no, she got such shit for marrying him. And when she arrived at conventions, fans treated her like crap.
That's fucking bullshit, dude. I loved her on the show, and I hate that she didn't come to the convention because people were mean to her. That's dumb. I hate that. Like, it's
Well,
not
they're-
like anybody
they're
has a
taking
chance with those guys. Like, why would you be mean to their goddamn wives? Take it
Well,
down a notch.
take it a little.
This is incredibly unhealthy behavior. Like, why do we want these people to be happy that we care about? Like, if they're such good actors and we care about them, why do we want them to be happy? Like, I don't understand this behavior. I don't understand it. I mean, no. It's dumb.
But I mean, so look at it as, if you write fanfic and you have your own canon and you believe that Destiel is a thing and that is your, as they call it, OTP, one true pair,
Yeah.
and everything you have is I watch Supernatural, I read the books, and all I see is Dean with Castiel, and the world is telling you that's never going to happen. I mean, your reaction is going to be like, nah, screw that. I'm going to continue believing in Destiel.
I mean, that's the great thing about fan fiction is that there's something for everyone. Like there's some fan
Yeah.
fiction that everyone's gonna enjoy, and it's not, most of it's smutty and erotica-y, right? A lot of it is, but not all of it. Some of it.
Well, then you've got people who will only ever read, the rating is E, explicit fanfic. And I'll admit, like, every so often I go looking for fanfic and I'm like, let's just see what's on the E list for pick a couple. But most of the time, like, fluff is fine. I just want to see like two people being happy. Like, I got nothing wrong with that.
You're not the only one that writes Jason, Todd, and Barry, right? There's more of them that out there.
When I posted my story, the first one, I did look to see who else did Jason Todd and Barry Allen, and there was one other story, and it wasn't a relationship story. It was something else. It was an odd story. It was not bad, but it was just an odd story. So in terms of Barry Allen in a relationship with Jason Todd, I think I am actually the only one who has written that pairing.
Damn, girl, you caught her to market.
I did. I did. And it's actually really rewarding because I'll have people like find the story. I'll do an update, and sometimes they find it because I put a character tag in, or they're looking for another tag or something else, but it'll pop in their feed, and they'll be like, "I never imagined this pair. Like, I never thought this could be, and now I totally need this. And thank you so much. And now I'm subscribed to your list." And I'm like, "Wow, okay, cool. Like, thank you. I really appreciate that."
You have a rare pair then.
I do. It is a rare pair. That's the thing, is it depends on what hooks you, and there are writers that can make you believe that some pair that you never thought of, be it Barry Allen and Jason Todd, or Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, or I mean, there's a hell of a lot of Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne, Batman, Superman.
Oh, I bet.
They kind of hate each other, but they'll make you believe in that pair. And if they do it right and they do it well, you'll be like, holy crap, I never thought this could happen. And oh my God, now I need to read everything about, Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne. And it's the best thing ever. It takes a really good author. That's kind of, I mean, it's any story can bring you in as long as the author is good.
I think that that's true in general, but fiction as well, like any kind of fiction. If the author is good enough, we'll believe it. We're along for the ride. All right, so this is a good point for us to transition into the bookend. So the bookend is just a little bit of fan fiction trivia.
Okay.
April is super competitive, but I don't expect her to do super well because she doesn't know a lot.
Sure, I don't know either, but we'll go for it.
All right.
She wants to see me lose my shit.
So the very first question is,
I will only lose my shit though if I feel like it's something I should know.
So you should know this because we talked about it earlier in the podcast.
If it's something that's completely out of my realm, I don't feel bad about knowing it. So it will not trigger my competitive.
What was the first fan fiction about? I will accept 4 different answers.
Jane Austen.
Jane Austen is an example I will accept. Woo! There were Janeites, as they were, that wrote fan fiction about the Jane Austen books. That is correct. Would you venture a guess, Leah?
I would also, I mean, you could go back to Spock and Kirk, or Kirk and Spock.
Star Trek was the first slash fic between Kirk and Spock.
We're tied.
Yeah, there are 2 other answers
bullshit.
I will accept other than Janeites and Star Trek. What do you think they are?
Oh, is this a tiebreaker?
Sherlock.
Sherlock
What?
also is one I will accept.
Harry Potter.
No, Harry Potter's not
What did April say before I said Sherlock?
Jane Austen.
Okay.
I mean, I'm
The
going
missing
Sherlock.
answer is Virgil's Aeneid. Virgil.
Oh, because of the
I don't
Odyssey.
know what that is.
Odyssey, yeah, absolutely. All right. So the next question is, what general
Wait.
group?
I mean, what's the score as we stand?
I mean, I think that
She's
Leah
1.5.
won that round. What general group largely makes up the fanfic community?
Oh man. Teens to early 20s.
I mean, we're talking about ages.
No, I'm talking about general group.
I'm gonna say males.
No,
Men.
the answer I'm looking for is actually women. Men only make up about 20% of the market.
Remember, it's slash fiction. A lot of it is slash fiction. It's male.
All of
males
slash
and
fiction is
females.
primarily women who write male to male fiction.
Yep.
There's been a lot of discussion about why it is that women write male to male fiction or fan fiction, especially erotica. Like I remember recently I was on a call, we were talking about erotica and how women are the primary writers of male to male romance novels. And I think and they write it primarily for women. And one of the things I read in a New Yorker article this afternoon, in fact, was that it's because of the power threshold. We want our couples to have equal power in a relationship.
And the only way women can imagine that
is a male to male.
Oh, that's so messed up.
It's kind of fucked up when you think about it. But yeah, that's one of the things they mentioned in this New Yorker article that I read. But yeah, so women make up the majority who write male to male romances. All fan fiction, in fact, 80% of is by the women.
That hurts me. They can't cast themselves.
Well, the problem is that they have to choose characters that already exist, and they're not well enough that exist to write it.
Although point of order, I will say that there are authors who put themselves in the story.
Nice.
So
done.
they do like reader, they say the reader, but it's like reader / character, and it will be like, you do this, you do that, he says to you, but you're technically the author putting yourself in the story.
That sounds fun.
Whoa.
Like a choose your own sex capade.
Are you?
Let's move on to the next question when
Okay.
we're thinking about that. What do you think were the most popular ships overall
Ships?
of all time?
Titanic.
No. When I say ships, I mean relationships, like a slash, like so-and-so / so-and-so.
We should have defined like the terminology here, but you say that the terminology is say I ship someone. So I ship.
Oh, so it's like
a relationship.
Ron and Hermione.
Yes. Is that your guess?
Yes.
Because that's
There
wrong.
we go. It's called shipping someone is the thing.
What do you think are the most popular ships overall? I'm just gonna look at the top 5 here.
I would totally say Kirk and Spock is still a thing.
It's not.
No? Wow. Okay.
No, it's not. It's not making the
Is
top
this-
5
is this
according to the
recent or
AO3 database.
Wait, let me
So
just say. I'm Donnie and I'm out of my element.
AO3 like correlates this year over year, and this is what they say overall. So this is just AO3, and it's just year over year. So I don't think Kirk and Spock did not make it. I mean, they may be in the fanzines, but it's not on AO3.
Most popular. There's probably something on there from Harry Potter.
Okay, which one? Harry Potter.
Well, for me, for Harry, it would be Harry and Luna.
That's not right.
Well, that's a shame.
What's the? It's got to be Harry and a male character.
Neville?
I just
Neville
don't
and
know
Luna?
the-
It's not Neville and Luna. No.
All right, I'm out.
What do you got, Leah?
I know nothing about Harry Potter. Who's the other male, the kid that's in their group?
Ron?
The redhead.
Ron. That's Ron, and it's not Harry and Ron.
Okay.
Think enemies to lovers. Think enemies to lovers, Leah.
Draco?
Yes, Draco and
the guy
Harry
from
is
what's his
number
face?
5.
Draco. Yeah.
Draco and
Okay.
Harry is number 5.
Draco and okay.
I
Who
thought
else is in there? If this has been years ago, I would say Sherlock and Watson, but I don't know.
Yes,
if
Sherlock
that's
and Watson is
probably
number
not.
2.
damn.
This is all time.
Okay.
This is all time. I mean, she get number 2, you got number
Um,
5. So kind of, yeah.
Of all time.
Who else? A whole time?
Overall.
There's got to be
AO3.
something on there. I would think.
Cain and Abel.
Avengers.
Cain and Abel.
Nope. That particular brother pairing is not on here.
Sam and Dean.
Not Sam and Dean, no.
Hang on.
Okay. Is there something from the Avengers or the Marvel like
Yes, there
movie
is.
universe?
There is.
And the question is who, and I don't. Oh God,
Wolverine and the bald guy.
No.
Okay.
Professor X.
Professor Xavier.
I mean,
I'm
it's
sorry,
gotta be.
I'm sorry. That's a lot. That's a lot for me. In the moment, I'm sure it exists, but that's a lot for
I
me in
mean,
the
if I
moment.
was Wolverine, the person I would be most attracted to is
Professor
Patrick
Xavier.
Stewart.
I mean,
Patrick
Professor.
I
All
mean,
right.
he had so much to do. I just want to be taught. And he had so much to teach.
I'm sure he did.
I mean, I would
I don't
love a
think
man
Wolverine
that can
wants to
teach
be
me
taught.
something.
That's not his character.
All right. So the number one pairing is Castiel and Dean, Destiel. Number
Okay.
2 is Sherlock and Watson. Number 3 is Derek and Styles, which are from Teen Wolf. Number
Teen
4
Wolf.
is Bucky and Steve from Avengers.
That's it. Yes, there's so much Bucky and Steve out there. It is crazy. Okay.
And number 5 is Draco and Harry. All right. So what do you think is the most popular femme slash from 2021? So this is girl and girl action. Where my girls at? What do you think it is?
This is not at all what I read.
Billy Barty.
Is Black Widow on there
No.
somewhere with someone?
Black Widow is not on here.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
I know.
I mean, I'm mainly in the
and
comic
Hermione?
universe, so I'm
No.
thinking like Black Widow, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel,
Nope.
Woman.
Go back to your DC roots, girl. DC roots.
My DC roots. I mean, the main female character is Wonder Woman.
Or
Or is another female character that DC cares
Batgirl?
about?
all right. I'm
Surprise me.
just gonna tell you guys because you don't know.
Lois
I'm just gonna
What?
tell you. All right.
Or losers,
Supergirl. Kara Danvers and
Oh.
Lena Luthor.
Lena,
Regina
look at
and Emma from Once Upon a Time, girl, the evil queen. What now?
Wait, it was Supergirl and who?
Kara, Supergirl,
I'm
and
very
Lena
No, who?
Luthor.
I don't even know who that is.
Did you not watch the television show?
No, I don't watch the TV show. That's
Okay,
my,
so
that's
Lena
my mistake.
Luthor is Lex Luthor's like sister, and she's a fucking badass. And she's hot as fuck.
Can we? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I have a new idea. I can't remember their names because it was a long time ago. There was
Okay.
a show called Roswell.
no, it's not that.
Oh, okay.
Clark and Lexa from the 100. 100, you guys. Have number 4.
Okay.
Number 4, Adora / Katara and She-Ra and the Princess of Power. I don't know what that is. Anyone?
You're not
Comic
that much younger
cartoon,
than me.
maybe. I think?
Number 5, Alex Maggie from Supergirl. Alex is a lesbian on the show. I'm not sure who Maggie is, honestly. It's been a minute. But I did want Alex to hook up with someone. Like I was rooting for her the whole time to have a girlfriend.
It was really sad that I don't know any of those. I mean, I can't speak to everyone, obviously, but I will say, like, the reason I started writing fanfic in some cases was because I wanted to read the stories that I wanted to read, you know?
Right.
And those stories aren't going to exist. Like Jason, no one else is going to write Jason Todd and Barry Allen. No one else is probably going to write Barry Allen and Constantine, you know, or other things. So, you know, if there's something in your head that you want to read that's not out there, it's on you to write it.
That's a beautiful way to end the segment.
You know what else she should do?
What?
Eat the books, motherfucker.